Going to call the meeting of the Board of Selectmen for June 27th, 2017 to order. The first part of the meeting is going to be a joint meeting with the Redevelopment Authority. Would you like to call your?
Yes, I'd like to open the meeting for the Redevelopment Authority on 6/27/2017 at, what time is it?
6:34.
6:34. Thank you.
All right. We're here to, item number one is a discussion and vote to fill a vacant position on the Carver Redevelopment Authority as a result of a resignation. I would be very happy to take that out of order. Can we have a motion to take the pledge out of order?
Yes, I would like to take the pledge out of order. What are we doing?
We want to take the pledge out of order. It technically wasn't going to be done till 7. I agree with Ms. Hewins that we should probably start it now instead of waiting till 7.
It's fine.
Everybody rise to the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so there was a resignation for the Carver Redevelopment Authority, and we are here to fill that position tonight. We have 3 applicants, 3 people that expressed an interest, Mr. Wilson Clare, Mr. Savory Moore, and Mr. Cornelius Shea. Basically what you'll each have.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Go ahead.
When I looked at the applications, Mr. Sinclair did not actually apply for the open seat. He only applied for the next one for the DHCD position. I have his application here that he filed. So,
And what was the date of that filing, please?
This was April 25th, and there were no other ones after that.
Okay, but I'm going to leave this up to the board. Basically, he put that letter in prior to there being any resignation. So to me, and I could be off base on this, but to me, if he's interested in one, he would probably be interested in the other one. But you can ask him about that when we bring them all up for talking for the boards.
Mr. Chairman, I do have to say is that there was an open period of enrollment for people to apply. And since he did not meet that period to apply, I don't think we should be actually putting him on the agenda. It should just be between Mr. Moore and Mr. Shea.
Other feelings?
Just a question. So are you indicating that you think that he's eligible to be appointed to the DHCD, since that's what his original application indicated? But
That's what he applied for on the 25th. That's it. So we should only be discussing that position for Mr. Sinclair.
But I'm saying you're not contesting he couldn't apply for that. You're saying he can't apply for the open position.
He can't apply for the open position existing right now
Right.
because he failed to apply within that time frame.
For the open position. He applied for the
open
DHCD.
position.
Other feelings?
I disagree. The letter that Will put in was April 25, I agree. It was April 25. And on May 9th, we received from Lynn Doyle that where there was a resignation of Charles Boulay, and that was dated May 9th, 2017. Yes, you're right, there was a month difference, but I don't think Mr. Sinclair realized at the time, after that, we got this resignation letter.
Mr. Chairman, I think we should read the letter that Mr. Sinclair actually sent in.
I think we've all seen it, and I'm not disagreeing with you, Bob. I know what he put.
Okay.
He specifically requested to be considered for the appointed position, not to fill in the vacated position by retirement. Would you have an objection if I asked Mrs. Sinclair on his feelings on that?
Well, you can. I just want to make it clear that, I mean, we have timeframes to submit applications in. If you let it go for one, you have to let it go for everyone. And you know what? I mean,
It's a
I-
valid point. Helen?
Excuse me, I think that would be a valid point had there not been, had there already been a resignation by Mr. Boulay at the time, but there wasn't. So the thought was that we would, he would apply for the appointment at that time, and he did that on knowing that Mr. Boulay was going to bow out. So, I mean, you can't, I don't think holding him responsible for timing at that point in time is a decision.
Ms. Marone?
Yeah, I'm just, I'm like to be consistent with the laws and regulations, so this is a touchy one. But if I'm understanding this correctly, you're saying that Will Sinclair did not apply properly to fill a vacancy.
correct. We asked everybody here at the board, gave a time frame of when people had to apply by. It was put out there. I put it out on Facebook to let people know about the vacancy, the ability. I did my due diligence, I think, to let people know that this is what's going on, and failure to apply within the time frame, we should not allow that to happen.
Do we know if we've ever made exceptions before for a time frame being late? And did Will submit an application for the vacancy after the time frame?
In other words, the one created for the resignation.
Correct. Did he ever fill out an application for that?
So I guess the best way that I can try to answer this question is that this is an unusual situation where we had ample time for notice to go out to see who was interested in applying to this position. There are no rules. You guys can nominate a fourth person who's not here tonight. Any one of you members can do that. What you did do is you went out to see who was interested in the positions. I think it was when we had this discussion, it was already known that Will had put in his application for the governor's appointment. I know Will had a conversation with me several times that he was interested in the position, so I knew he was applying for the position and his application was good for both. Is there a piece of paper as Bob is putting together there? No, Bob's correct. There's not an additional piece of paper. But does it fall within the scope and the intent of what the board's looking for is who's interested in the positions? That's up for the board to make a decision. It's a policy decision. It's not a hard and fast rule. You have to make a determination as do you think that his application is within the intent of showing interest for one of these two positions, because you were planning to come tonight to make a recommendation for two positions. And, the same thing applies for, I don't believe the other applications say that they're interested in the gubernatorial position. I think the other two say that they're interested in the vacant position. So now, following Bob's logic, you would only have two people that could apply to the vacant and one that could apply to the gubernatorial.
Correct.
Sarah?
That's the way it was
That's your
presented.
logic.
Sarah?
Yes, well, I understand what Bob is saying as well, but I think the intent was clear, that Will wanted to apply to the RDA. He had no idea someone was going to resign, and it never occurred to him, and no one instructed him to, reapply a second time. I think the intent was pretty clear that he wanted to be on the RDA, but maybe we could ask him.
And if there's anybody to blame, it's probably me, because when I had the conversation with Will, I should have said, hey, fill in two applications, but the thought never crossed my mind because of the intent.
And I'd have to go ahead and agree. To me, by putting in for either one of them shows an intent for both. I will be asking each applicant when they come forward, if they don't get one, are they interested or will they be pursuing the other? In the interest of fairness, though, I will take a vote of the joint boards of whether we should consider Mr. Sinclair for one of the applicants for the vacant position created by the resignation. All those in favor of having Mr. Sinclair be considered for that, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Okay. Two, okay, that's so there'd be
Gotta
1,
go
2,
with-
3, 4, 5 yes, 2 no. All right, moving on.
Chairman?
Yes,
Should probably do that for the other two, just for consistency for Bob's point.
Well, they applied for it, did they not?
They only applied for the one position, according to Bob.
if, my thought on that is, I will be asking each one that's one of the questions I'll be asking during this first part. And if we need to, then we can do that when we get to that next, agenda item.
And also, Mr. Chairman, if I might point out, we're not making the appointment for the governors. This
Right,
is simply a
that's only gonna be a
recommendation.
recommendation,
And we
correct?
could recommend in someone that wasn't even here now.
Oh,
if we
yeah.
So chose. So I don't think we're bound on the governor's recommendation the way we are on the,
Well, technically, Mr. Malinowski is correct. Even if we wanted to, we could be naming a fourth person to
No,
fill
I
that
understand.
seat, so.
I'm just saying, I don't think we have the same restrictions on.
All right, let's, I'm gonna go in reverse order. And, can I start with, who wants to go first? I'll do it that way. Okay, Will, you're moving first. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Closer to the mic, please.
Let me just fire this up so I'm ready for you, Mr. Chairman.
Will, be sure to speak into the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, to the board and also to the Redevelopment Authority. I would like to thank both the Redevelopment Authority and the Board of Selectmen for the opportunity to be considered for an appointment to the Redevelopment Authority. As a long member, I would like to reflect on many opportunities that I have had the pleasure to be involved with many members of boards and committees, in particular the Redevelopment Authority, for the past 11 years that I served on the RDA. As a member of the former Industrial Development Commission, the IDC investigated and brought to the town and established a redevelopment authority for the town of Carver. I was appointed to the RDA from this Board of Selectmen. As a member, when the state established the RDA, I was also appointed by the RDA members as the first chairman of the RDA, in which I served 11 years as chairman. Many of the projects that we have done with past and present sitting members of the RDA, for examples, accepting town-owned properties and moving them forward for resale was one of the good accomplishments that we did, returning well over $500,000 back to the town. We established a program to a community on conservation of a propane to a natural gas loan program with a 10-year ceiling at that time that would be forgiven. That was monies that was put forward, a great successful project. Working with the North Carver Water District as an RDA member to establish a program on hooking up their properties to town water by assisting in paying for the infrastructure costs over the long term, making possible economic development opportunities for those properties. That was a good accomplishment that the board had done. And most recently, as well known throughout this town, working on the first ever urban renewal program, giving the opportunity to maximize the potential economic development of a blighted site. This was the most important issue that I have ever sat on and ever participated in, and the opportunity to work on. Working closely with our former town planner, with my board members, with the sitting selectmen, and all the other boards that were there, this town had approved and went to the state for approval of the urban renewal. I was invited to attend an economic strategy session just 2 weeks ago with Serpent to discuss the potential opportunities for infrastructure needs to the town of Carver that might exist due to the URP. During that meeting that we sat at and that I attended, it was very clear that it was not just a town accomplishment. This was a southeastern regional accomplishment that this town, this board, and this other committees had accomplished, and is very well looked at from the state and all agencies. I was very instrumental in working with not only Mike Malinowski, the town administrator, but also with Marlene, working on understanding the ORP, understanding the issues that are there, understanding the eminent domain issues, listening to the citizens, not only from this town, but other towns on their concerns of that. And I think that we came out with a very fair product. I believe that I have a vast knowledge and commitment to this town. And in particular, working with the redevelopment authority that would be extremely important as the process of implementation of the URP moves forward. You all know that I've been here for a long time. I've worked very hard at trying to commit to this community and commit to well process of economic development. I thank you all for your time and your consideration to serve this town. Thank you.
Question from either board.
I'll start.
Okay, Mr. Belvin.
Mr. Sinclair, how many other boards?
Yes. Talking to the mic, please.
I'm sorry.
Hey,
How many other boards and committees and authorities or whatever, how many are you a part of already in the town?
I've served on the planning board. I've served on the business development committee, formerly
Are you
the.
currently?
I am on the planning board. The BDC I am no longer on. I sit on the North Carver Water District as a commissioner, as elected commissioner. I am the assistant town wiring inspector, as appointed from this town administrator. What else do I sit on? That's it that I can think of off the top of my head.
Okay. And you actually mentioned the assistant electrical inspector?
Yep.
Is there any conflict that you feel between that position and the planning board for which you approve projects?
I'm glad you asked because I've asked the state and the state said there is no conflict of interest at all.
And with all due respect, Mr. Belvin, that asking a question in relation to the conflict with the planning board has nothing to do with the appointment to the redevelopment authority. I would ask that you keep questions pertaining on how his interaction would be with the RDA, not with any other board that he's serving on.
Okay. Since you serve on all these other things, do you think it's sensible for other people to get involved in town government instead of monopolizing one position?
Mr. Chairman, through you and to the chairman of the redevelopment authority, I take offense of your accusation for monopolizing. I commit myself to this community in vast amount of times, whether it's volunteer, elected, coming to volunteering for committees and stuff. I don't monopolize anything. If somebody wants to come and be active in this community that we've had in the past and that we will have in the future, and we've shown very big, vast variety of people interested. We have people here tonight that are interested in serving this community. It's great. I think it's encouraged. We've always encouraged that.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ms. Hewens.
So, Will, you said you've served 11 years on
Yes.
the redevelopment authority, and all 11 years as chair.
Yep.
So it seems to me you have quite a bit of historical knowledge.
Yeah, I would say yes.
Yeah, I would say yes too.
But
My-
I've also, and not to interrupt you, Selectman Hewens, I've served with some very good people on this board, and we've been extremely successful. It's been a great board program, however you want to state it, for this community. It's been very successful.
Well, to Mr. Belbin's point, I think that it's wonderful when people who are new to town government get involved, but we also can't lose, in my opinion, the historical perspective of people who served for a long time. It makes a lot of difference to the town. Appreciate your service.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Sinclair?
Yes, I currently serve as treasurer and have been on the committee since its inception. And just recently, we received from DHCD on May 8th the approval for the urban renewal plan. We no longer have a town planner. His knowledge is really, really important to us to be continued, as well as all the work he did with the town planner, of the joint meetings we had, and so forth. In addition to the projects that we've done, we have a lot of projects. I didn't bring that project plan with me tonight. I didn't think it was necessary. But we all work together. And it's really a treat to see not only Will, but the other two members, because for so long we've been wanting to get an appointment. And I'm hoping that everything goes well. Thank you.
Okay, before anybody else asks questions, if we could kind of concentrate our questions to just questions for the applicants themselves, once we get into the nomination phase and voting, that would be the time to go ahead and voice your support for that. I'd like this, if we could, just to have this more be questions of the applicants right now.
Okay.
Anybody else? Yep.
So, Mr. Sinclair, if you are the applicant that we do vote in and you accept it, will you be running for? Will you take? Will you run for another election in the following year, or are you going to just serve out this 1 year and then
Thank you,
bow
Brian.
out?
Thanks, Brian, for asking that question. That is a absolute yes. I will fulfill my obligation to this community and to this board. I have full intentions on running again, and that's what I plan on doing.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Clark? Ms. Marone? Question for me. First off, if you were not selected to fill the position that was opened up due to retirement, would you still be planning to go ahead and applying for the governor's appointed position?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for asking that question. As you see in my application or the notice that I sent to the Board of Selectmen, after the election, I had applied for and asked to be appointed as the governor's appointment. I thought it was very important to participate and continue participating with the RDA in some way, some fashion, whether it was appointed as an active member or the governor's appointment or as a citizen at large. Just because of the years of experience that I've had, I think it's important that as the process moves forward, especially on the URP, but not only that, on other opportunities that might be out there, being able to voice an opinion and voice that history. So to answer your question in a nutshell, absolutely. And for clarification, I did talk with the town administrator after the fact with the resignation. Didn't feel that it was necessary to fill an application. I appreciate Bob's concern and Ms. Maroney's concern on that. I think it's an important question to be asked. We had talked about it and didn't think it was necessary.
Okay, I'm going to ask one more. It's a hypothetical. Feel free to not answer if you care, but I will be asking the exact same question of the other two because I think it's important to make sure in my own mind that on each item that comes before the redevelopment authority, that you don't go in with a preconceived notion and that you are willing to not make a decision until you've heard everything. Hypothetical is this. We all know there's been a lot of consternation with the urban renewal plan and eminent domain. If, let's say, the developer were to come to the RDA and say, look, I've tried with this one parcel of land. I've even offered him this person 3-4 times what it's valued at, and this person is stuck at 10 times the value. I can't afford that. If I can't get this parcel of land, I'm going to have to go ahead and just drop the project and walk away from it. Are you philosophically married that eminent domain should not be used for anything except for building a road or a hospital or something like that, and that you would not be able to render a decision based on what's good for the whole town? I guess I borrowed that. I need to know what your feelings are on eminent domain.
I can do that. And I thought we made it extremely clear during the whole process, me especially, that eminent domain was the absolute last vital thing that would ever be considered, ever go through the process. That being said, as I sit in front of you today, I can honestly tell you in that scenario, I would not be able to render that decision with just the facts you've given me.
Okay.
I would need to know financial facts. I would need to know the background on it, the impacts of potential, i.e. so-called development up in that area. The community was extremely loud, not only this one, but also Plimpton, on what they were looking for and what they wanted and didn't want. we saw in the master plan, and we just finished the master plan, which I served on and chaired as a representative of the planning board, what the intent of this community has been for a long time. So to be honest with you, I cannot answer that question honestly.
That's a good answer. Any other questions, comments before we move on to the next applicant? Thank you, Mr. Sinclair.
Thank you to both boards. I appreciate your consideration.
Connie, you want to go next, or you want to go have Mr. Moore go? All right, Mr. Moore.
Good evening, everybody. I want to thank you all for considering me as an applicant for either one of the two positions available. I'm going to keep this brief, my opening remarks, because I'm better at answering questions than I am at giving speeches. My name is Savory Moore. I'm a 4-year permanent resident of Carver, but I've been coming to Carver for 64 years. And when I was probably 7 or 8 years old, swimming in Sampson's Pond, staying at the Pine Acres Cottages on Shore Road, I knew that this is where I wanted to end up someday. So 4 years ago, when I was able to retire, I came here because this is where I want to be. This is the town I love. I've loved it all my life. Briefly, what I want to say is that one of the most rewarding things that's happened to me in the last 4 years has been serving on the Master Plan Committee. The Master Plan Committee gave me an insight into this town, its people, and all of the issues that face this town going forward. Through both the meetings that we had and the public workshops, I got to hear from residents. I got their thoughts, their positives, and their negatives on what needs to happen in this town. And some of the takeaways that we came, and probably the top priorities out of the master plan, were the fact that people want to maintain the rural character of Carver. And it's very, very important for people. One of the things that comes along with maintaining a rural character is that it's somewhat expensive because you can't crowd homes in. So you need to have some kind of income to offset that. Another thing that people said was they wanted the town to become affordable for younger people. A lot of people who have children who grew up here their children can't stay in the town because it's so expensive. So again, there needs to be some way to reduce the tax burden and allow some younger families to remain in Carver. The third thing that people were concerned about were services. We have a brand new fire station, which is wonderful. We know that a police station is on the horizon. And one of the other things that was spoken about quite often was the need for a community/senior center in the town. Again, it's expensive. It costs money. And the fourth thing that came out of all these master plan meetings was business/economic development. And that's where the money needs to come from to fund the other three things that I just mentioned. So I feel that the Redevelopment Authority has a task ahead of it to do what's best for Carver, best for everyone in Carver, and guide this town to a prosperous future through smart thinking and common sense approaches. And basically that's why I feel that I would be good on the RDA. And as I said, I love this town. I want to see this town prosper, and I want to see people happy here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Questions?
I'll start.
Okay, go ahead.
Same question as Mr. Sinclair. How many other boards or committees or whatnot have you served on or serving on right now?
Right now, I'm serving on the Conservation Commission and the Historic District Commission. I have been on the Master Plan Committee, which I mentioned, but that was disbanded in February when the Master Plan was finalized. And I was on the Historical Commission, which by town meeting vote a year ago was merged into the Historic District Commission. So that as a separate entity doesn't exist anymore. So right now I'm only on those two boards.
Okay. And I know Mr. Sinclair didn't like this about the monopolizing question that I put out there, but do you feel that your redevelopment authority that you have, if you get this position here, you said that business development is the solution in your application here for commercial development, offers the best solution to some of our problems that we do have. You do understand that all of the research and studies that have been put out there that commercial cannot pay for everything that needs to be done here in the town, the tax rate that comes back from that. And
Yes, I do realize that, but I also realize that no commercial brings in no money.
Okay. The other thing is how do you feel about senior housing, low, moderate income housing, of developing that here in the town?
I think that it's necessary. I think that that the seniors have quite a burden ahead of them, and that there should be accommodations made for them.
Other questions?
Yeah, I'll ask. Excuse me. So, are you aware of how long the term is
Yes, I am.
that you're assigning yourself to?
Yes, I know that the open term is up for reelection next April for the remaining 2 years of the term. And I know that the government appointed position is for 5 years.
4 years.
4? Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
4 years.
It's a quirk in the law.
Oh, okay, but the elected position is 5.
Right.
Okay, so
So
evidently I didn't.
So my question, I guess, would be so part B of my question would be: are you going to be able to be up for the task of 4 years? It's a long time. I mean, it's been the Board of Selectmen. They sign up for 3 years at a time, and here at the RDA, it's 5 years at a time. So are you ready to, take on the commitment of 5 years, 4 years?
Yes, I don't see any problem with that. The master plan was almost 15 months. I've been on conservation for almost 3 years, and I was just reappointed to the Historic District Commission for another 3. So I don't see any issue with maintaining a 5-year term.
Thank you. It just the reason I ask is because, we just had recently someone leave our RDA, so begs the question. So
No,
I had to ask.
I expect to stay in Carver, and I expect that I would maintain my presence.
Mr. Chairman, through you. I know Savory. I served with him on the master plan committee, elbow to elbow. And I really was impressed with you when you came. We had that joint meeting, and you sat there and told us about commercial development and how to raise the monies, and because at that same time the school board, I believe he was the superintendent or wasn't at that time. With that, I was impressed. I was going to ask you about the term as well, but it's already been notified, and I'm sure you'll stick with it because I know who you are. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Clark? Ms. Hewens? Ms. Marone? No. Same questions from before. First, if you're not selected to fill the position that opened up from resignation, I'm going to assume I already know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it officially anyway. Would you be your intent to go ahead and petition for the governor appointment?
Yes, it would be.
a 4 year?
I would like to serve on the RDA in whichever capacity comes my way.
And with the question that I asked Mr. Sinclair, that I'll be asking Mr. Shea concerning the use of eminent domain, if it came down to that, there are some people that are just totally opposed to it, others that will take it under consideration. Just which way do you lean on that?
In the example that you gave to Mr. Sinclair, you mentioned the developer offering 10 times the amount.
No, it's offering 4 times with the owner wanting 10.
Right. I'm of the opinion that if someone is holding out for 10 times what the property is worth, then they are doing it for the wrong reasons. I feel that eminent domain is the last resort, but I also believe that it's on the books for a reason. And if that one parcel is going to harm the 11,000 citizens of this town, and more than a fair shake has been given to the property owner to purchase that property, then I would not be averse to utilizing eminent domain as the last resort, if it came to that.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you very much, Mr. Shea. Or, yeah, right, Mr. Sabre Moore. So now we'll go to Mr. Shea.
Thank you very much.
I need more coffee.
Hi, I'm Connie Shea. I want to thank everybody for their time this evening and considering me for the position. I have a few words in here, but I expect you've already read my application, that I do have some history in business development, construction, real estate, retail industry, aside from buying a house in North Carver and living here since 2003 and rehabbing the house itself. That's my pretty much extent in the retail, real estate industry. As most of you know, I have made efforts to become part of Carver government. Many of you have asked me to serve on committees at one time or another, and I'm here to answer the call. There's a need for new blood out there. There's a need for new people. These two gentlemen are eminently qualified for the position, but they serve on several other committees, some of which are directly in conflict with the job of RDA. If you have to go to the planning board and then the RDA, do you excuse yourself? Does that leave the RDA one member short? Ethically, it's the right thing to do. The RDA, as I understand it, is an independent body of the municipality, and as such, it is given certain powers and abilities that allow it to work freely for advancing commercial and industrial development in the town, as well as affordable housing, elder housing, and a lot of things that we haven't really focused on outside of the urban development in North Carver. But frankly, I'm not much of a talker. I have some thoughts written down, but it's just to kind of keep me in line, so I'll open up for questions.
Okay, thank you. Questions, please. Want to start off again, Mr. Belvin?
Might as well, hey.
You're on a roll.
As the redevelopment authority, we go ahead and we have a lot of power available to us. And are there any conflicts that you may have regarding the redevelopment authority and the urban renewal plan?
No, I'm firmly committed to the development of the North Carver properties. I think that at this point it's kind of moot, as the process has already been in place and it's proceeding forward, and I'm here to fully support that. It's one of the ways to bring down taxes and make the town more affordable, to eventually hire new teachers, expand the police force, and pay for a lot of the development we're doing in town, the school, Council of Aging, the police department. It's a necessary part of this town. It's been in the master plan for 14, 15 years, I believe, and it's certainly just come to the attention of a lot of people recently because of the issue of eminent domain, which many people feel strongly about.
My last one was same with Mr. Moore about low income senior housing complex, something along that lines in the town.
Strongly for that. Anybody that took the time to watch this year's discussions for the Selectmen's debate will notice that I made it very clear that I am an advocate for senior and low-income housing in the town. But I do have reservations on 40B housing and how, if we're not careful, predatory development can easily move in and tear apart the foundation of this town that we're really starting to build up. putting houses on quarter-acre lots is not what Carver should be shooting for and should be doing everything in their power to avoid.
Questions, other?
I'll go. I was reading what you wrote here. I have a question. 'Cause
Sure, absolutely.
we've been asking, and it says here near the end, it says, I'm willing to serve out the year, excuse me, until a suitable candidate or candidates applies at the next general election. I take it you just want to fill the void?
Not necessarily.
Well, you made that statement.
I
Why
did
you
make that
it?
statement, but there's nothing to say that I'm not the most suitable candidate to be running next year. I'm sure the selectmen wouldn't mind not seeing me facing off against them again next year. So I might be facing off against somebody else, but this is my chance to learn the position, get some strength out of it, and to decide whether vote Shea for selectmen or vote Shea for RDA is going to be my next campaign sign.
Or Shea for school committee? Or
Yes,
there's
absolutely.
A lot of them out there, Connie.
Yes.
Well, we like to have someone like yourself, but hopefully you would find it that you really want to stay and not leave.
Well, I would hope that same thing myself, because I like all the selectmen and I respect them. Just because we don't agree on everything doesn't mean that I might not better fit another position.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Connie, I'm one of the ones that have talked to you on the side about getting involved with the town. As someone once said to me, which I did, I got very active in the town before running for selectman. And I want to support you because I personally have worked hard, and I think people know me by now, that I have strived to bring camaraderie to this town. And I think we've all come together fairly nicely, and I do believe in diversity of opinions on the different boards. So I do want to support you. The one concern I do have, and if you could give us some other examples of how you handle conflict, because I'm going to be quite frank, at the town meeting, you appeared to be very angry at the selectmen because we didn't agree. So I just want to give you an opportunity to share, how do you normally handle conflict and bring, a decision to one when you're working with others?
I'm a very normally calm person. I was a little excited at the town meeting, but a lot of that has to do with my absolute fear of standing in front of an audience. My disagreement wasn't with the selectmen, it was with the direction of where we think we're going and what's best for the town. And again, that's why I ran for selectman. I happen to think that the lot the police station stands on would make a much better community center than a police station. It's situated within shopping, walking distance of the library and everything else. And I have very strong feelings about that. But to be honest, standing in front of people, a large group of people, is a little intimidating for me. I doubt you'd ever find anybody else that could come forward and ever say that I let the anger get the best of me. I try to be as objective as possible and listen to both sides of the situation, and then I look into the facts and find out for myself.
And one more question, only because you are the candidate probably with the least amount of experience. Can you elaborate a little bit more on what your experience was? And if you're voted in for the RDA, how will you prepare yourself in terms of being knowledgeable on each topic? Would you go to the planning board, or would you do research on your own, just reading the material?
I would talk to everybody. I'm a pretty social guy, and I like everybody, unless, I've given a reason not to. I'm a person that likes to go out and gather information, whether from the state, which has a fair amount, but it's not particularly specific to the town. I would expect that I am going to be doing a lot of catching up and reading, as far as the duties and where the town itself stands at this particular time on the RDA. But I'm a quick learner. I'm a quick studier. I'm a stay-at-home dad, so I've got a lot of time on my hand. When I'm not dealing with 10-year-old conflicts, I'm doing a lot of time reading and studying.
Ms. Hewens?
I just have a comment, Mr. Chair. I think that some of the previous discussions about conflict of interest really don't belong here, because I think that's between an individual and the Ethics Commission. It's not really our place to judge or litigate one way or another. So I'm hoping that subject doesn't come up again. And thank you for your application.
Yes.
Same question.
Sure.
If you're not selected to fill out the rest of this year for the slot, created by the resignation, would you be willing or interested in applying for the governor's appointment position?
No, I will not be interested in applying for the governor's appointed position. That's a 4-year. And if I'm going to run for the RDA again, it's going to be for the full 5-year term. And if the RDA or myself feel that it's not working out, or such the case may be, then I will be pulling out my old signs.
Okay, that's fair enough. And the example I gave to both Mr. Sinclair and Mr. Moore about the hypothetical concerning the use of eminent domain, would you be open to considering it? Because I know I can't speak for sure, but I have the feeling that you're not in favor of eminent domain.
I am not in favor of eminent domain, especially when it comes to people's personal property. As I understand it, some of the eminent domain issues arose from taking people's backyards, unblighted areas. I understand there's access issues, and the RDA worked very hard coming up with alternative plans for that, which I think us, the town, and the residents in that area are all grateful for. But I would have to be convinced before I ever made a decision like that can so wholeheartedly affect what somebody has worked and lived for and bought and paid for and put their future into. But it would be a difficult decision to make, yes.
No, and that's why I asked, because I
Absolutely,
appreciate
yes.
the honesty of all three of you gentlemen.
No, I'm against it in general, yes. I think for the most part, hospitals, like you said, sidewalks, bridges, certain things need to be done in order to access this property. I understand that too. But expanding beyond what's necessary right now is a little jumping the gun, I suppose.
All right, thank you.
No, thank you.
Any other questions?
Just a point of clarification. I want to make clear that I don't think there's anyone who's in favor of eminent domain.
Right. No, I know nobody's out there making land grabs. If I felt that was the case, then there would be a conflict. I would come right out and say it. If I thought anybody in particular was out here to make money off of this, to enrich their power base, I would come out and say it. I'm not a particularly shy person when it comes to standing up for the morals my mother taught me. So,
And that's a good thing. All right, any other questions? All right, thank you.
no, thank you.
And now we will move to, first, before we go on, I do want to sincerely thank all three of you gentlemen for taking the time to apply for this position. It's not easy to come forward. Even a small group like the joint boards here can be kind of intimidating sometimes. So I do want to thank you all for what you put in the effort and willingness to just go ahead and serve the rest of the community in this town. And that's what that's what you're going for, is to be a public servant for the town.
Mr. Chair, I just have a procedural question.
Yep.
And I might have missed it, but I don't know whether the RDA opened their meeting. Oh, good. Phew.
All right. I'll start off. We'll take nominations. Are there any nominations to fill the seat of for the resignation?
I'll start by, I would like to nominate Connie. And the reason I would like to nominate Connie is because he has shown a strong interest in helping the town. I think it's a good place because this is an appointment and there's an election next year. You know, we can see how he learns and, you know, he can prove himself, if you will, in terms of growing and being able to work with the different committees and use Will Sinclair's expertise from the planning, you know, going to the planning board to seek advice. And I think a few of us that are busy in the community and active in the community have all said to him, get involved. And I think this would be a good show of support to say, let's give him a chance to be part of something where he can really learn the nitty-gritty of it all.
Okay. Any second?
Second, Pat.
Okay. Any other nominations?
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Will Sinclair because I feel, you know, we had some very good progress going, especially with the urban development project, and his experience on the board was, you know, missed greatly when we were told that he was going to, you know, depart the way he did. So my nomination is for Will to come back to the board.
I'll second that.
All right. We have nominations so far from Mr. Shea and for Mr. Sinclair. Any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Savory Moore.
I'll second that.
And so all three gentlemen have been nominated. So I guess now we go, any more discussion on the three applicants? Or are we ready to move towards a vote?
Well, again, the reason why I've chosen Connie and Savory is I respect Will tremendously, but I think he can serve so strongly by continuing to serve on the planning board and be a resource to the RDA. And Savory Moore has a wide variety of experience. He has served on the master plan committee, and I think it's a good segue into the RDA. So, and I've already shared my reasons why I think Connie would be a good choice as well.
Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
I second Mr. Shea. We need new blood, like he said. We need more people to get involved, have different opinions, different thought process, looking outside the box for things. When you have such a narrow-minded view that you can't see anything else because you have your mind focused on other things, that you kind of miss things. And I think he brings that new person into the town. It shows that the Board of Selectmen and the Redevelopment Authority here want new people to get active, and this would be a great showing of it. Gives him a chance to learn the ropes. All it takes is one step, and he already took that step by filling out the application. And I think that he would be an asset to us and to continue on.
Anybody else have any comments?
Yeah, I do for the new blood. You know, I was new blood 4.5 years ago. Bob, you're new blood now. You're returned, but you're still new blood. Mr. Boulay was new blood. I think the RDA has had plenty of new blood, and it's had opportunity for new blood, and I think it's done well with that blood as it were. But you know, I just think that a person who has experience and who does understand other parts of the matrix of this community is going to do much better in the position that he's strongest in, and also bring back that experience to that new blood that you want to bring to this board. So, you know, in my experience, in my personal life and in my professional life, that's always been something that's been, you know, the diversity or the sticks that hold things together and make things stronger. So, you know, that is why I nominate Will.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
I second that nomination for Will, mainly because Will, at this point in time, we don't have a planner. We don't need, as Helen said, we don't need somebody as a resource. We need somebody actively on our committee who's been with us, who knows the urban renewal plan inside and out. The state will be asking of us. He's very familiar with MIPA. That would be next. I have to agree with Brian. We don't need new blood. And the part that I hesitate with Mr. Shea is he's a suitable candidate, but he may not want to be. So all that work and time would be thrown out and going again all back to election and so forth and so on. So that's really my opposition. I cannot agree with Helen.
Before you vote, go ahead. Mr. Clark, anything?
Good.
Mr. Belvin, one more time.
We're still searching for another town planner, correct?
It's on the
For the
agenda.
town. All right, so we will have a resource available to us. The state is always there to seek out. I've actually called the DHCD and to find out what availabilities are out there, okay? And there's always somebody available to help us. So, I mean, to say there isn't anyone out there to help us and that the experience and everything, but you have to understand that government is always moving, all right? And you can't always just kind of, I like it, I'm comfortable here. Sometimes you got to branch out. And this is the opportunity to branch out, all right? And I think this is an opportunity for him. And like I said, Mr. Sinclair, he applied for the governor's appointment. He has a second bite of the apple there. The other two members really, I don't think they do because they didn't apply for it, but no matter what, that's my opinion for it, and I think that we should go with Mr. Shea. All right, thank you.
All right, it's before the vote. We take the vote. Again, I want to thank you three gentlemen. I think you're all eminently qualified. You presented yourself well. You took the hard questions. I don't think this is an easy vote for either board. So let's go ahead. All those in favor of Mr. Shea, since he was first nominated, please raise your hand, please.
Aye.
All right, all those in favor of Mr. Sinclair? 3, 4, and for Mr. Moore? Well, they were only voting for one position right now.
Oh,
So you're voting 2 people for one position?
no.
You asked us.
Who asked us?
It's for, this is for filling the position from the retirement. So it's only, we only get to put one person there.
This is the resignation
Right.
of Mr. Belay's position for 1 year until the next election.
Until April now.
Okay.
So we had 2 for Shea, 4 for
So I'd like to do a revote because we had a couple of, so again, all those in favor of Mr. Shea filling out for this year till April. Okay, it's 2. All those in favor of Mr. Sinclair to fill out this term till April election. 1, 2, 3, 4. And for Mr. Moore, I will. So, Mr. Sinclair, you are you're elected to go ahead and fill out this term till April. And upon your swearing in, you'll be a member of the RDA. Now, Mr. Shea, one more time, you're not interested in the governor's appointment? Okay. Because that's our next topic here is the BOS recommendation for, to give a recommendation for the governor's appointment. There's only Mr. Moore, so I'll take a motion.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion?
Actually,
This is just the selectmen right now.
This is the
Okay,
selectmen, then you get
sorry.
to whether you
All right.
decide. So any discussion? All those in favor of the Board of Selectmen putting in a recommendation for Mr. Moore for the governor's appointment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? 4-0. Now, if the RDA wishes to, you can take a vote to either support or oppose what the Board of Selectmen have just done on this recommendation, or you can just not take any action at all. What's your pleasure?
Support.
Yeah,
Actually, let me number move up at this point.
Not till he's sworn in?
Yes, sworn in. You support.
Yes, we'd like to support.
We'd like to support.
That'll take a motion and a vote by your
So we're
board.
going to need a motion.
I move that we support Mr. Moore for the appointment for the, 4 year, was it?
All right,
Governor's
so
appointment.
I'll second that.
Do you take a vote still?
Okay, so we're gonna need to take a vote on
I vote for Mr. Moore.
Savory Moore. All those in favor of Savory Moore?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
So it's 2-1.
No, it's a 2-1, not to support the Board of Selectmen's recommendation.
Correct.
We kind of missed discussion in between that. I just want to make the reason why I didn't support Mr. Moore is that, as I've said, I like to see more people get involved in the town, and I don't think that having people on the same boards, it does monopolize ideas and thought processes. That's why, I mean, I'm only on this one, and that's all I'm going to be on right now. Okay, I'm not going to go off for another one. That's my opinion, and that's how I feel. That's the reason why I didn't approve. Thank you.
Yep. That's if the RDA wish to adjourn. Selectmen will.
So I'll need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I was gonna-
Right, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. From the Board of Selectmen, thank you. On the Board of Selectmen
Thank you.
side, I would really enjoy taking a motion
break
for
for more?
a 5 or 10 minute recess.
So moved.
5 or 10.
5.
Whatever you want.
Okay,
2.
we have a motion for a 5-minute recess before going into our regular meeting. Yeah, that's a hazard. The June 27th meeting of the Board of Selectmen. With approval of the board, going to move the agenda around a little bit because I don't want to make the poor scouts wait any longer, and we have another couple here that have a license matter, so to get to them first. Since we've already done the Pledge of Allegiance, let's go, shall we move on to Memorial Day observant recognitions for the Carver Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, and Girl Scouts? With the approval of the board?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Chairman, Board of Selectmen. Thank you for approving my request to be on the agenda tonight so that we could recognize the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and Cub Scouts of Carver, who for the last 2 years have done a lot of work prior to the Memorial Day observation, and we didn't get to recognize them at the gazebo. So this is another year where we're going to recognize them late. However, they're very well deserved. So could I have all the Scouts stand up, please? Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and Cub Scouts. So initially, I have packages with letters of appreciation, but I understand the Board of Selectmen has some letters, so I will defer to the chairman.
Okay, yes, we have a letter to the Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, and the Girl Scouts. The Carver Board of Selectmen would like to acknowledge all of the Carver Scouts who worked so hard for this past Memorial Day observation. Your hard work and dedication is appreciated. The town thanks each and every scout that put the extra effort into landscaping the Veterans Memorials at Shirtliff Park. The Board of Selectmen are very proud of the Carver Cub Scouts, Girl Scouts, and Boy Scouts' commitment to volunteer their time and efforts towards such worthwhile projects such as this for our veterans and their survivors. You are to be congratulated, and your work is very much appreciated.
I'd like to call up two people, if I may. I'd like to first call up Commander Ron Delano of the Carver American Legion Post 164, Julian M. Southworth Post, to say a few words in recognition of the Scouts.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I just want to say it's been a long time coming for these kids because for years and years and years, I don't know if you remember, but Mr. Weston used to do the decorating of the graves for some 30-odd years, and he got kind of problems with his legs and things like that, but he'd still go out there in the cold and the rain and put those flags on, and these kids have done that for the last few years for us, and they've taken over that job, which is a great, great, great honor, and I want to give my appreciation being a chairman of the Legion Board, and I want to thank them for what they've done for all of us, and I hope they continue to do it as they've done it in honor of our veterans from now until perpetuity. Thank you.
And if I could have Kevin Bradshaw come up. Kevin's going to recognize some individual Boy Scouts for Eagle Scouts projects.
Hi. Sorry about this. I'm going to introduce. I got 5 Eagle candidates, and one of our goals is that we let the selectmen know what we're doing. So in the next couple of months, we have a couple of projects. So I just want them to present each project to you tonight. First, I'll have Andrew Anderson come up. And Andrew, state your
Yeah. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go to the 3 cemeteries.
Andrew, go ahead and just introduce yourself, please.
Sorry. My name's Andrew Anderson, part of Troop 48 Carver.
Yeah.
And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go to the 3 cemeteries in Carver, Lakenham, Union, and Central. And I want to make section markers and maps for all the sections and map for each cemetery, so it's easier to like navigate.
That's fabulous.
That'll be great.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm doing it so it's easier for people who come to this town looking for people. It's easier for them to find who they're looking for instead of having to call like John Woods every time. Anyone have any questions?
Yes. So let's say it's Lakenham Cemetery.
Yeah.
And I know the name. I would basically go to your database or whatever you're going to have, a spreadsheet or whatever you're going to have, and look up the name, and it would tell me what zone and where to find the grave?
Yes. It'll tell you what zone and then within that zone.
Yeah.
Actually, you'd still have to contact the DPW to find out what sections. What it is he's going to have all the cemetery sections out. When you go to the cemeteries now, you don't know where section E is.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know where section G is. And Lakenham's got like 15 different sections, and some of them are small, so it'd just be easier. And especially when the scouts do the flag placement, they'll be able to know, because Ken gives us a list on how many people are in this section, so we'll be able to identify that too. Also.
Is it possible, though, that it could get on the town website so someone wouldn't have to get hold of the DPW?
Yeah, we could
Yeah,
look
I
into
think
that.
that's a great idea. We can tie that into the database, into your map, and then have that available so that they don't have to call John Woods all the time. They don't want to do it.
And John did not pay me to say that.
Clerk.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Mr. Chair.
All right, good.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, when you get to that point, when you get to that point, just contact the town administrator and he'll help make that happen.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think this is a terrific project, and you may or may not be aware of the fact that many years ago, a gentleman named Jack Shaw went and did maps of the cemeteries. I don't really know where that is. It used to be in the building department, but you can get in touch with Jack's wife, Connie Shaw, who I think is still on the historic, one of the historic commissions.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
I think those are the same maps that I got these maps off of.
Oh, okay.
I think those are the same ones that Mr. Morrison had.
Oh.
He had a set.
Even better. Okay.
So
Never mind.
think, yeah, somebody did this before I did it.
Okay.
So,
All right, so this is just making it even better.
yes, yeah, making it more accessible and easier to view on that.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Thank
This
you.
is a wonderful project.
Next, I'll have Mike Pompey. And I'll have him describe what he's going to be doing. Go ahead.
Hi,
Hi.
Mike Pompey, and what I'll be doing is Savory Avenue, right down the street. There are some spots in the middle where trees are have been either blown down in storms or they're just not there anymore. So I'm going to be moving saplings that don't have space to grow on the sides to that middle area so that they can grow there.
Nice.
That's terrific.
Very good.
Nice.
If I may too, that's particularly good since I know that we have a part-time conservation agent and land stewardship and management is tough when you're, not here all the time. So I'm sure the Conservation Commission will appreciate that as well.
Mr. Clark?
White pines, are you thinking, or what kind of tree?
So I've been meeting with Savory Moore, and he's been marking trees there. So probably some white pines, but all pines, definitely. So probably mostly white pines, though.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Any other questions?
No, thank you for that project, though. That'll be
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Next, I'll call up Cam Sheehan. Cam's Eagle project's already done, but he's part of the group, so that's why he's here to discuss his.
Hello, my name is Cameron Sheehan, and I recently did my Eagle Scout project. I painted the Carver Council on Aging fence, and about a year ago I noticed that it was like chipped, and it was like disrespectful to like the elderly people that they wouldn't maintain the fence, so I offered to paint it, and they thought it was a good idea, so I went ahead and did that this April. We the first day we scraped all the paint off and then power washed it, and then we came back a weekend later, and then we primed it and then painted it.
You're awesome.
And it looks
You wanna do another
fantastic.
You're quick.
Did you paint by hand or with a spray gun?
We painted with brushes and rollers.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel like Tom Sawyer?
You probably could have got Helen to do it for you.
I like painting.
Now, that was a tremendous job you did. I mean, everybody's commented
Yeah.
on how
Looks
good
great.
it really looks down there, and thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Next, I'd like to introduce Kyle Rizzuto.
Hi, I'm Kyle Rizzuto, and my Eagle project is called the Cole Property Trail Enrichment. And so basically, I was walking down the trails one day because I used to do that a lot when I was a kid, and I noticed that there was a lot of debris and fallen down trees and stuff like that blocking the trails because when all the solar panels got installed on the highway, they had to use that as an access point, and so there was a lot of stuff left behind in the way. And so what I wanted to do was install some benches and first off clean off all the debris that was falling down there, maybe even fill in some holes with wood chips and stuff from the wood, and also to install benches so that people can get a better view and also get some time to rest, because I know those trails can get pretty long when you're walking for a while. And also I wanted to install some bat housing because I know there's a lot of mosquitoes around town, and so I wanted to help control some of that, especially when people are outside walking around.
Terrific.
Excellent.
Very good. Now, when are you going to want to start this project?
As soon as possible. I just have to get permission from the council, the Boy Scout Council, and as soon as that happens, I plan on starting in early July.
Okay, very good.
And you've obviously run this by the Conservation Commission as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great project. The property really needs some help. Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Excellent.
Well, thank you very much.
Last but not least, Nate Ryan.
Hello, my name is Nate Ryan, and my Eagle Scout project is to do the Julian Southworth Memorial down in South Carver. My plan is to put a patio stones around the memorial site and also to move it more away from the road, and then to put flower beds around it, benches, and a historical sign. Also, I would also like to, the pine grove, I would like to cut down the dead trees and maybe add more live ones. I was thinking evergreens. So I hope to get that started around late July, hopefully, as soon as the Council for Boy Scouts approves it.
Wonderful.
Excellent.
Good.
Very nice.
Again, the town is lucky to have dedicated scouts like you boys are that are wanting to do these projects for the, yes, it's for your Eagle badge, but it's benefiting the entire town and all the residents of it. So our hats are off to you, and thank you so much for being willing to put in all this work.
Yep.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'd like to compliment all the Eagle Scouts for their projects. I also want to compliment the leadership.
Yeah.
I think it speaks very highly of the leadership of the Boy Scouts in this town to have outstanding youths like this following through the program. It's so easy to sort of drop off after you move along. It's not always the coolest thing to do. And yet, I'll tell you, some of the best grown-ups I've met were Eagle Scouts.
Yep.
So that, do any of the projects need any financial assistance?
Well, it's up to them to raise their own money. They're in charge of the whole project. Like, I'm an advisor to a couple of them, and I'm just there as an advisory role, but they're the ones that have to go out there and solicit for the money and stuff like this. They'll do fundraising.
I'd suggest if they want to send any request up to the Board of Selectmen, that some of us may be glad to help.
Oh, okay.
Through you,
I'll
Mr.
keep that in
Chair.
mind.
Yes,
Probably
ma'am.
got about another 5 next year, so.
Okay.
All right.
Kevin, for the sake of the residents who are not familiar with how this all happens, can you give an idea of what it has taken these guys and young ladies, but these guys, it was all guys this time, to reach to this point where they're working on Eagle Scout program projects, and like what percentage of Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts end up at this point? Like, what's a rough estimate?
I want to say, like, if you start out at Cub Scouts.
Kevin, can you use the microphone? I keep wanting to tell you. Thanks.
It's usually like 1 to 6.
That's what, yeah. That's
And
what I figured.
the boys that you saw tonight, they were all Life Scouts, so they get at least 10 years in.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
It's
So-
amazing.
And they got 6 months to a year left, and then they're then the next batch will be up. But that's where they're at. They're near the end. It's right in front of them. This is one of their final steps. Now we go to council, and the town's approved everything. So, because we have to get permission before we can go up there and ask to do something. So this is a great thank you for setting the time aside for letting the boys speak there.
It's our pleasure.
But that is kudos to you and the rest of the leaders, including Girl Scouts aren't really the piece of this topic. But you guys, the leaders, live and breathe this. I know a few of you, and if you weren't living and breathing it, neither would our kids. So,
Well, thanks.
hey, you're welcome. You're gonna blush?
Getting out of here now.
Hold up.
Could we have the scout leader from the Cub Scouts and the Girl Scouts come up, please, to accept the award from the chairman?
I'm not going to reach across the desk to shake their hand. Okay. All right, for the Boy Scouts. Thank you so much for all the work. You want to pick?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was hoping not to have that. All right, Girl Scouts, please. And on behalf of the board, make sure all the girls know how much we really appreciate all the efforts they put in. It's great. And Cub Scouts. And again. Thank you all.
These are copies for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have a proclamation that's supposed to be read? I have a proclamation to be read by Emily Stagnita, Project 351.
Ken?
Is that still going, huh? It's in the agenda.
I know. I don't know.
I'm sorry, I should have addressed that. I did not hear back from her. I'm sorry, that's my glitch. I will reach out to her.
I
and
just want to
find
make
out.
sure we weren't missing it.
Oh.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ken.
Thanks.
And before we go back to the regular order of the meeting, I would entertain a motion to go ahead and take the one more item out of order the request for a common particular license for Yummy Pagoda Incorporated as part of our effort not to make people wait till the very end
Yep.
of very long meetings.
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine.
All right. Have a seat if you could identify yourselves and
Yes, my name is Chima. I'm the future operator of the restaurant named Yummy House, which is used to be called Ten's Gourmet. It's located at 80 Main Street in Carver.
First of all, thank you for the special arrangement. My name is Andrea Cole. I'm the paralegal working for Attorney Chris Coleman's office. Today we represent the applicant Yummy Pagoda Inc. on the application of common ritualist license. Brief, very simple, describe the transaction. We are just taking over an existing restaurant at 80 Main Street, which is used currently operating by the Ten's Gourmet. So the applicant is taking over the Ten's Gourmet, going to serve the same kind of food Chinese restaurant, take out with no liquor. Their proposed hour is also similar to the current operation from 11:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. During the weekday. Friday, Saturday from 11:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. Everything is going to be, very similar to the current operation. We will be happy to answer if the board have any questions.
questions from the board. So you're just basically taking over the operation that was Tan's.
Correct.
And when would this go into effect?
Going to call the Yummy Kitchen, right?
Yes, Yummy House.
Yummy House.
Yeah, but when? Once we approve this?
We schedule for the 29th if we have approval today.
May I?
Yes, ma'am.
Just curious, the years of experience with the Yummy owners?
Well, I've been working in Chinese restaurant for more than 3 decades.
Wow.
So hopefully in future, I appreciate you can drop by and taste my cuisine.
How yummy it is?
Yes, okay.
I'll take you up on that one.
Make sure I try the bonus spirit. Make sure.
Just keep the egg foo young the same.
Yep. Yes.
Don't mess up the egg foo young.
Don't worry about it. I will try my best effort.
Good luck.
Make a motion to approve the change in the victuals license?
Second.
I like
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, none. 4-0. Congratulations and welcome. You're welcome to town.
Welcome to Carver.
Thank you.
I love the name, Yummy Yummy. Yeah, you will.
All right. Now to get back on track, going back to our first real agenda item, let's start off with the community prayer. Ms. Marone's going to read that tonight.
Certainly. So we're actually starting our meeting now?
Yes.
Okay. Almighty God, humbly we pray your blessing as we concern our life with the opportunity to serve our community. Enhance us with your spirit of dignity and selflessness. May we become instruments of support and understanding as we seek to bring an environment of trust and purpose among all who provide the many services that make us all that we can become. Help us achieve the goals of our commitment in this office that is now our responsibility. And especially, we lift our prayers for all the citizens of our community that we have been allowed to serve, that they may discover the fullness and joy of life that we all seek. And please keep those serving in our armed forces and our first responders in our hearts and thoughts always. Amen.
All right, we'll go to public participation. This is a 10-minute period that we set aside for citizens of Carver to go ahead and address the board on any topic, either on the agenda or not on the agenda. And is there anybody from town with lists to talk? Oh, Mr. Belvin.
You're funny.
You do realize I was just playing a little bit.
It's all right. Robert Belvin, 26 Gate Street. So I have 2 issues here. On your agenda, it says you have the 2017 reappointments, but there's no names or positions listed for all those appointments that you're doing tonight. And I sent an email to the town administrator about this, about you have to go ahead and tell everyone who you're appointing, what positions you are, and that it's not on the agenda. And I understand there's a large file, because I've received it before. I think that should be put on as a topic for your next one for appointing. That way you can post everything so everyone can see all the positions that are available out there on different boards and committees, and then have an open appointment to people. Because some people stay on these boards and committees because you reappoint them over and over and over again, but how can people get involved in the town if these positions are pretty much, like I said before, monopolized by the same people over and over and over again? So I think that would be the best approach, to go ahead and make sure everyone knows that these are all the committees. And some committees you probably don't even need anymore. They're outdated, and who knows? Because like I said, I've looked at some of them and said, I don't know about this. I mean, why do we still have that? And some only have 2 people on it, or 1, or 3, yeah, who knows? So you may need to look at that further. But the biggest thing is, the open meeting law says if you're having appointments, you got to put names and everything out there. So that's number 1.
Yep.
All right, the second thing is, the town administrator's contract. He's been here 4 years, he has 4 contracts. All right, and looking at from his first salary that he gets and vacation and benefit time, it's a lot that it keeps on going up. It looks like 4%, 5%, even though the contract says he gets 2% plus cost of living as other bargaining members get. But it keeps on going up every year when you renegotiate his contract. We're here in the 5th, in this one here, I mean, I'm just going to put the numbers out there, and if I'm wrong, let me know. $132,945.66 per year, 2% cost a year, plus his cost of living, all right, which from the other one, that was a 4% increase. Professional development, $5,306 for professional development. Car allowance, $9,551, plus a 2% increase. I mean, if I'm off base on these numbers, please let me know. Cell phone, $1,273 for the cell phone. Life insurance, $3,183. 15% in deferred comp. This is really one of my biggest sticking points, is that I've never seen this in a contract put in place with any union. I know this for a fact. I used to be a negotiator on negotiating committees, negotiating committees for unions. No reduction of benefits clause. How do you negotiate when you have a no reduction of benefit clause? How does a town selectman negotiate when you can't take anything away unless you take it away from the other employees? All right, you have a contract. This is your contract. You negotiate. You negotiate for the people, for the residents here. It seems like here, this contract, it's all about the town administrator and all about what he can get. What are we getting? What did we get back for some of these concessions that you gave out to him in this contract? What concessions did he give up? I mean, he can work 8 hours on his other job, but the contract says he's supposed to be available 24/7. Okay, well, how can he be available 24/7 if he's going to work 8 hours somewhere else? I mean, when we had Rick LaFond here years ago, we gave him an increased salary because he was a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week person. That's where it's at. Okay, but now I'm looking at this saying, oh my God, this is over $152,000. And plus, I didn't even put health insurance in this or anything else. I mean, I have a real serious problem about negotiating skills of the selectmen here for the residents, because you're supposed to be working for the residents here. And all I see is you keep giving to the town administrator.
Through you, Mr. Chair. May I, just real quick? We can't talk about this, Bob, and I wish that you had brought this up, because I would love the opportunity to put on the next agenda all the accomplishment and thousands of dollars Michael Milanowski has saved this town, which has prompted us to work his contract as it is. We are very fortunate, if you have a list, which I think we should put on an agenda, to see just how much money has been saved over the past few years since Michael has joined us.
And that would be in millions. But
And that would be in
it's not a topic.
We can't
But
discuss.
I understand that, but just in rebuttal to that, it says, we all work for a job. We all have a job to do, and we do it. And we try to do our job as best we can. That's why we get a salary for it, okay? But if we have in this town only get a 2%, 2.5% that we can increase taxes, okay? But yet we kind of find out that other unions here aren't getting the same 4%, 5%, all right? He's got a 5-year contract. Why didn't you just leave a 5-year contract as is, and he gets his 2% like that? Why do you renegotiate every year? 4
You're asking
contracts.
questions that we're not going to answer because it's not a topic on the agenda, so, but I appreciate your comments. They're well taken, but for right now, there's nothing that's going to happen from this. But I appreciate you bringing it before the board.
I understand that, but you guys, you have to understand that. The residents don't know this, but when they find out, when you start talking about it, they're like, oh my God. And they start looking at how many high-paid employees there are, all right? And, I mean, town hall, you go in here and there's only a few people working throughout the day because they're all part-timers here, all right? But you get high-paid employees, and then you have all these other people that can barely make 18 hours.
Yes, Mr. Clark.
So,
He's beyond his 3-minute allotment.
that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Belvin. Are there any other citizens that wish to address the board? Seeing none. All right. Recreation Committee applications for applicants for appointment, Lynn Doyle and Sean Morgan.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have 2 applicants for the position that you have in your packet, so don't know if you want to move those.
Like to bring them up, and is Sean here? No. Okay, but we'll still hear from Lynn, 'cause she's here.
I can talk for Sean.
Okay.
No, I'm only kidding. Hi, Lynn Doyle, 5 Church Street, Carver, also the town clerk in Carver. And I've applied for the Committee of Recreation Committee. I'd like to join. I'm a little excited about this. I understand they're working on a new software that's going to make it simpler for people to register and go online, sign up for different activities, and they're looking to possibly expand those activities. And I'm coming on board as I was trying to figure this out earlier in the audience. I'm either a young senior or an old middle age. So I'm coming on board from a different perspective.
Alan, there's no good answer to that.
I know, that's why I was saying middle-ager.
I know. So I know I'm also on the Friends of Carver Council on Aging, so I see some of the activities that we help support for the seniors in town, and I think they have some great activities through the Council on Aging and with Carol Julius as the director, and they do a great job. But and I also know there's a lot of activities for the younger kids now too, and I think YPAC is helping that out quite a bit. Recreation Committee has a lot of activities for the younger kids, but understanding that maybe this might expand a little bit into even a department instead of a volunteer committee would be nice to see more things available to older, middle-aged, younger seniors.
Stop while you're there. Just stop.
And I think I have a great perspective on that.
It'd be great for people of all ages.
Yeah, great for people of all ages.
Mr. Chairman, having worked with Lynn on the Friends of the Council on Aging as well as town clerk, I think she'd be a tremendous addition to the committee.
And both Lynn and Sean, both Lynn and Sean were at the last Recreation Committee trying to get a feel for everything.
Make a motion to recommend both of them.
Second.
Further discussion? Any questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. 4-0.
Thank
Welcome
you.
aboard
Now-
and congratulations.
Thank
Just
you.
what you need, more work.
Well, that's okay. Now I don't
Please see
have
the
to
town clerk to
transfer
get
the
signed
phone
in.
calls that I get. Pardon?
Please see the town clerk to get signed in.
Yes, I was trying to figure out who's going to swear me in, but that's okay. We'll figure that out. Thank you very much.
Okay, now there's going to be a challenge for the town administrator.
Yeah, we're gonna
We're
try
only, let's see, we're about 25 minutes behind schedule, so I'm going to trust you. We're going to bring us on schedule.
We're going to try to move quickly, Mr. Chairman. The first item, and Meg's up here to join me on some of these, the first item is an update to the financial management policies. If you flip to the back side, at the bottom of the page in bold are the only changes that are proposed. The first is to update the OPED liability for FY18. Again, that's just a number off our old OPED report. It's the last sentence that we're adding to the OPED issue, and it shall be the policy of the Board of Selectmen to reallocate pension payments to the OPED once Plymouth County pension is fully funded in 2031. This will not result in any service cuts to the town. So in essence, the town is paying advance payments to Plymouth County Retirement System to make sure that our pension's 100% funded. So we're paying more than what the annual cost is to catch up for old years. That additional delta would then be assigned to OPED in 2031 once this occurs. The reason why this is important is because the rating agencies wanted to know that we have a plan, even if it's out, whatever, I'm looking at 12, 14 years, 15 years, that at least we have a plan as to how we're going to catch up. Now again, between now and then, we can always relook at these things, but it's something on the books to show for that.
Are you looking for a vote on that?
I am looking for a vote on that to update our financial policies.
I'll move to update the financial policy to reflect the changes in bold.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
And
Discussion.
I'm going to recuse myself.
Okay. Ms. Ewens will recuse herself. Any further discussion? Those in favor of the proposed changes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's 3-0-1.
No, it's not. It's 3-0. I recused myself. I didn't
Oh, so it doesn't
abstain.
even count?
It-
Okay.
It's not a vote.
All right, 3-0.
Can I just ask what the basis of the recusal is?
OPEB, post-retirement benefits.
Oh, because you're a retiree? Okay.
Next.
Okay, I got to turn it over to our finance director. You're on. Quick.
Oh, okay. So I just wanted to give a brief update on, there've been a lot of changes in the finance department. So just as an update to those changes, we now, Lori, our new treasurer collector, is in her third week, and she's doing a great job. I've had several meetings with her, and my impression so far is that she is extremely organized and prepared. She asks a ton of questions. She clearly wants to understand how the finances work and has already proposed several changes to improve various operations in the treasurer collector's office. She's also very conscientious, and although she is worried that she's possibly not picking up things as quickly as she should, I have told her several times that it's clear that she is understanding and she's doing a great job. So I'm very, very pleased with that. We also have a new finance assistant in the accounting office. And she's been doing a great job as well. This is her second week. And then finally, we have an intern in the office, Justin Ward, who is Dick Ward's grandson, who is doing a phenomenal job. He is loved by every single person in this town hall, and we're fighting over him because he is so good with Excel and is he just, you can't say enough about him. He's great.
Just on that, I was going around town hall today, visiting all the different departments. And he was in every different office.
Because we're fighting over him.
No matter where I was, at different times of the day, I'd see him in another office doing a project for them and doing another project for him. And he informed me that he's multitasking. I said, okay, so you learn from the wards.
Yeah. Also, because it is year end, I have a year end reserve transfer request. Well, two actually. I'm asking to transfer $15,000 from the municipal insurance line, which generally does not have funds left over at year end, but does this year, to our legal line. I'm also requesting that we transfer $20,000 from the gasoline line to the DPW operating budget. The Finance Committee approved this transfer on June 6th, and it just requires Board of Selectmen approval.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
And just for clarification, each one is in those 5 different categories. So at this time of the year, it does take both boards to approve it. If it's in one category, you can do it. But because it crosses categories end of the year, it takes both the FinCom and the Board of Selectmen to do that.
So we're not finishing the year in the hole, we're just...
Right.
Oh, yes. Yeah, no, we're definitely not in the hole.
No. Mm-mm. I mean, just at year end, there may be small amounts here or there. These are the fairly larger ones. Everything else will be small items. So this will need to be approved.
Well, we haven't voted.
No, we haven't.
We have made a motion in a second.
Okay.
That was for both of them, the motion, correct? All right. No further discussion? All those in favor of approving both transfers, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, 4-0.
Last issue, well, actually, just as an update, the Finance Committee did approve to transfer $60,436.57 from their reserve fund to clear up the deficit in snow and ice. So our snow and ice will be ending the year in a zero balance. And then just finally, because it is not quite June 30th and departments have until July 15th to send in their final bills, there may be additional small deficits between now and the time that the books are closed. And because year-end transfers require approval by both the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee, and the Board of Selectmen is not meeting until the end of July, I would like to request that one member be authorized to approve any further transfers that might be needed.
Make a motion the chairman be that person.
Second.
And it would be for transfers under $2,500.
You're hired.
Any other nominations on that one?
Nope.
Hearing none. Any other discussion?
Nope.
Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Yeah, I'm stuck. I mean, I'll be happy to do it.
Much better attitude.
Thanks, Meg.
Thank you very much, Meg.
Thank you.
Moving on, capital project updates. Tomorrow on Thursday at our joint meeting with the school committee, we'll give a better update on the elementary school and middle high school and where the status of those are, but both of them are still under budget and moving along very well. We're going to have our first meeting of the sports complex committee, which is going to meet on June 19th. I have also been meeting with representatives of the Council on Aging last week, and we'll be having another meeting in early July with Paula Babin and several other people that are on the COA Board of Directors to work on putting together the scope of what it is that they're looking for. Also working with the chief on putting together his strategic plan. Once we have the strategic plan, that will then lead into moving forward with the police department design. So those are underway. Also tomorrow night, Thursday night, we're going to update on the townwide IT and the townwide facility / DPW department. Those are we've hired our IT person. He starts July 1st, and we've had some great progress on the joint facilities DPW department. So again, that'll be on this Thursday, but all moving along very well. As it relates to staffing modifications to the planning, environmental, and permitting department, what I'm going to propose is not necessarily going to save us any money, but it's going to satisfy the need that we have right now. Basically, in that department, we have 4 areas of professional expertise. We have a conservation specialist, we have a planning specialist, a building commissioner specialist, and we have a health inspector specialist, if you will. People that are all professionally certified in what they're doing. We have gone out to advertise for a full-time planning director position. One of the people that out of the pool that was interesting took a job at another community, and the rest of the applicants, after being reviewed by myself and the chairman of the planning board and the vice chairman of the planning board, we didn't see anyone that would be a great fit for the town of Carver. We had a lot of people with experience, but most of the experience was international experience or working in large cities, and we just couldn't see that being the fit here coming into Carver. That being said, as you all know, we've had Jack Hunter has been filling in on a temporary basis after Marlene left. What the planning board has asked me to do, and I'm in agreement with their recommendation, is that we look at seeing if we can bring Jack in on a part-time basis to serve primarily as just the planner of the town. Not a planning director, but the planner, to focus on that professional planning expertise. Now, what that does is that means that we don't have a director of the department. But as I've looked at this, that director is really managing the department and can be any one of those 4 specialists, if you will. Those 4 professional specialists could be the director. And what I'm proposing tonight is that we would work with Kevin, who is our health inspector, and he would be willing to take over, in addition to his health inspection duties, some of the management responsibilities for the full department. So instead of having a director of planning, and, which is the planner, we now have the director of health, which would be in charge of the department. So I'm kind of seeing, as this has evolved, and this is part of us reassessing the department all the time, is that director can move around. It doesn't have to be any one of those 4 professions. It could be any one of them. And it's just a matter of finding the right people to fill those spots. Those 4 positions would be part-time, as we currently have right now, and then whoever becomes the director would have more hours than part-time. So that's what I'm just bringing to your attention, and would hope that you would support that endeavor to give that a try for a while. We will continue to always reassess what's happening, but this is a proposal that's not only supported by the planning board chair and vice chair, but all the staff in the department is supportive of this as well.
So is that you asking us for a vote tonight on this?
I'm asking for your support. I guess a vote would be appropriate, yes. I mean, it is a change from the org chart that I have done before.
I'm sorry, what, Helen?
Should we make the motion then? Ask questions?
Well, if I may,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure, I mean, you're in charge of personnel. I don't know why we need to vote on that, frankly.
Well, I just would like to have the knowledge of a couple, just a
Well,
couple.
it's good that we got the update, but.
Yeah.
And Sarah, you're right, I am charged of personnel, but I think what I've had here is I proposed an org chart
Yeah.
that we've all been looking at before.
Right, and we've been very transparent.
And now what I'm doing is I'm just moving that org chart laterally.
Yeah.
And just moving that director to another position. So it's still functionally the same thing,
Yeah.
but technically it's not what I presented before. So this is more of a disclosure and just asking your support to move that director to one of those other 4 positions to test this out.
I think Sarah's question was, do you actually need us to support this in order to do it? As opposed to simply getting consensus that we're comfortable with what you're doing. I don't think we need to vote to approve a new org chart per se, but I think we want to ask any questions at this time because and advise for or against it if we have concerns.
Sure.
Which I think, so I'd ask you questions, Helen.
Well, you would, okay. I just have a couple questions. Jack Hunter's back, and he's part-time. I'm assuming these part-time positions continue not to have insurance?
That's correct.
Okay, and what about the because it seems like the role is being split, like when you emphasize that Jack wouldn't be the planning director, he's just going to be the planner. What's the experience of, the management experience of the person that's going to be doing the management work?
So Kevin, great question that you asked.
Yeah.
Kevin was one of the founding partners of GAF Engineering back in 1983. He's been working with for well over a year. At that time, he had a whole engineering, he was the principal of the engineering company. So with that, they had numerous engineers, apprentice engineers, staff people working for them. So he's managed his own company, and his education is he's got a BS in civil engineering, I've just watched him in his time being here just with the Board of Health and trying to help advance them doing additional things, and just have been very impressed by his ability. He's a very low-key guy, but he gets things done. And the staff are supporting him, and I know he's got the financial acumen to oversee the budget.
Right.
And but he's also got a demeanor about him that he can get things done without being abrasive.
Yep.
And I think, that's one of the things we want to work with the department in helping them to be more inclusive
Nice,
with the
okay.
entire town. So,
Cool.
so Kevin, comes with a strong background that I believe would work well for us.
And then Jack would serve as the planner. Can you just?
Sure, so
kinda-
Jack's primary function would be to serve as just the planning person, the planner that knows all planning law and everything to the planning board. So he would staff all the planning boards. He would most likely also staff the redevelopment authority because that's in a planning function right now. And that would be his primary focus. He wouldn't be as involved in the North Carver Water District. I'll be involved in that along with Dave Siegentoff and John Woods. If we ever look to expand a line or something like that, then he may be involved in a planning component of that. But that management of the North Carver Water District wouldn't be within his bailiwick, so to speak. So, back to your point, is he would be primarily focused on, probably 80% of his time would be on the planning board and 20% would be on the redevelopment authority.
And just to confirm, I think you've shared with me already, but just for the residents, I believe you said that he was working in Hudson and he's retiring that position.
He is in Hudson right now. He's working for us part-time, and he is going to be retiring shortly, and that's what we'd have to work out.
Okay.
I don't have the exact date on that, so this is still, I wanted to make sure, before we worked an agreement out with him, I wanted to make sure there was no opposition to this.
Got it.
But his retirement would be from Hudson.
Hudson. From Hudson.
So never mind, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may?
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to make it really clear that my question about not voting on this had nothing to do with, personalities or anything like that. I think that, I think you all know how I don't particularly like the organization of that as one department, first of all. But I also want it to be very clear that when I was an employee here, I had a lot of experience with Kevin. I know this is not about personalities, and he is, as you describe. He's a great worker, and he's, so this was no reflection on him whatsoever.
No, never
Right.
took it that way.
And that's why I'm glad I asked the question, though, because his experience is, wow. So, I think that's impressive, and I'm glad the residents now know. It's a good choice.
Okay, anything else on that subject?
So hearing no opposition, then I'll look forward to moving that along.
Press on.
Is that
Press on.
Is that how I should
soldier.
approach it?
Yes, that's how you should interpret it.
It's a good
Did
segue
you skip
into the
over
next
the
one.
92 North Main Street?
Yeah, I did.
I was going to ask him about that. I was going to let him roll on, see if he'd work his way back to
There
it.
is a letter in your packet that was sent out to the owners of 92 Main Street. As of this morning, our building commissioner had not heard back from them, but that letter is out, and they do have 10 days in order to respond and tear down the building.
Just to make it clear, it's 92 North Main Street, right?
92 North Main
Okay,
Street.
so I just didn't want anyone, if there's a 92 Main Street, to start worrying.
92 North Main Street. I have visited the site many times. I know some of the board members have. There's plenty of 55-gallon drums all in there, part of the sides of the building.
We know what's in those drums?
Some of them look like they were a media that helped filter out petroleum that was probably in the ground. So that would lead someone to think that there's still some chemicals in there. Then there's some barrels in the back of the building that we have no idea what's in them. And that's just the big barrels.
So, if I may, Mr. Chair, I think this site is on the DEP's hazardous waste sites. So, as my understanding is, we might have to get a licensed site professional in there to, if anything has to do with petroleum. You've probably taken care of that already, but just in case.
Yeah, I think that was what some of the treatment was done, so they have treated it to a certain level. But this is, the surface area that needs to be addressed. But you're absolutely right. It is a registered site, and anyone who tears down the building is going to have to follow proper protocol.
Is this something that may end up falling to the town to have to do, and we'll have to pay for it?
If that is the direction we go, then we can put a lien on the property, but right now we're hoping that the owner of the property is going to tear the building down.
But if the property as is fairly...
I'd rather wait to see if they
Okay.
neglect if they ignore the town and don't do what they're required to do under state law, then we'll have to take it to the next level.
Okay.
And I'd rather wait to explain the next level if we
If you need
Hope
to.
we don't get there, but if we do.
And there is a small silver lining in that, since there is town water at that end of town, the mediation is not as severe as it is if you had to worry about having it cleaned
Well
up.
water and...
Well water.
So,
pressing on.
And that's all I have from there. The only other thing that I have is, in your packet, you also saw a recommendation from the Board of Health. for increasing some of their fees effective July 1st, 2017. They did do a study of all abutting towns, and they didn't try to get the highest fee. They Carver was low on several of these or didn't have some of these, and their focus is always trying to be in the median. So with that, the percolation test, and percolation test, can last from half a day to all day, depending upon the soil types. The current fee was $200. It does require somebody to be out there doing that whole time, and that is proposed to go to $350. That's for new construction. For upgrade construction, from $100 to $200. And then they have two other fees for housing code violations, first offense and second offense. The first offense would be $300, and $100, and the second offense would be $300, and possible court actions. So one of the things the Board of Health has to do is, if you have a landlord that's not properly maintaining a house that renters are in, then the town becomes the advocate for the renter. And if the town says you have to repair something like a leaky water pipe that could produce mold or whatever it is, and the tenant does, and the owner doesn't do it, well, this now gives us the ability of finding them. So that was unanimously voted by the Board of Health. And since all fees have to be approved by the Board of Selectmen, I would recommend that you accept and adopt the Board of Health's recommendations.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion second. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor of adopting the Board of Health recommendation fees, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0.
In your packet, you saw there were some recommendations to the personnel code for non-union employees. We do have a committee that reviews our policies on a regular basis. That includes Tom Walsh, Carol Julius, and Elaine Weston. And as we continue to revamp our HR system, occasionally they find things that need to be improved or modified. I think you saw those in your packet, so that's the recommendation from the committee to ask the Board of Selectmen to approve the personnel code adjustments.
And do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Questions? Hearing none. Those in favor of adopting the proposed changes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, 4-0. Anything else?
Nope, then we have in your board packet also the Rochester Road Bridge order of takings from Mass DOT. This is a Mass DOT funded project for the one-lane bridge that we have right now. As a result of that, there has to be some drainage easements that are installed around the bridge, and where they have to do some widening for some buttresses that are in there. So in order for the state to spend money on it, they require the town to do these takings. We had to do similar stuff on Route 58. The staff has worked on getting many of the donations done, but there were a couple that we just weren't able to find the owner. And that's why you have an order of takings here, just to close that loop. There's no houses, no personal property. This is all drainage related.
And by doing it means we're one step closer to finally getting that bridge fixed.
That is correct. The bridge will stay on schedule.
So, Mr. Chairman, through you, I just wanted to ask Michael, so this list of owners, you just said we couldn't find the owners?
There's one of the owners that couldn't be found.
Out of this list of owners?
Correct.
Any further?
Just is there anyone in opposition at this point?
We have not had anybody on opposition, no. Everyone wants the bridge, particularly if you live down there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good question.
Make a motion to approve the taking.
Second.
I have a motion second to approve the taking. Any further questions or discussion? Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0.
Mr. Chairman, can I just comment on the 2017 annual reappointments? I understand what Bob has said, and that is true, particularly when you're doing one-offs, when you're doing special appointments or things that are off-cycle. But our understanding is by having the word annual in here, this is an annual occurrence that happens, that you guys, at the end last meeting of the fiscal year, go ahead and just do a whole new slate of people that have applied for the positions. The list is available. No one's ever come asking for the list, and that's why it's never been on an agenda here. So my understanding is the annual does cover that because it's a regular, routine type thing that's done. It's not out of the ordinary. Whether Bob's right or wrong, I don't know. I'm just telling you that's the understanding that we have as to how this was put together.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Clark.
I would suggest that we go ahead and vote on this tonight, but instruct the administrator to consult Copeland and Page to determine whether or not it's acceptable to do it this way, and if it's not, then we'll throw it on the next agenda.
So then we shouldn't vote on it tonight.
No, we should vote on it, because if this is legal,
Yeah.
then there's no reason not to.
Okay.
If we find out it's not legal, then we'll have to reconsider it at
Got it.
the next
Okay,
meeting.
that makes sense.
So that's my motion.
Second.
And that to approve and that includes approving the appointments.
Yep.
Anything on that? I just look at it, yes, if it's illegal, we should go ahead and do it.
Well, especially since some of these people need to keep serving over the next month.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Are we on a time crunch on this for some of these?
Correct.
All right.
Yeah, and there's no reason we can't know tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
We can
The issue is.
reconsider it if we find that.
But we won't be able to reconsider it till August 8th, August 1st.
Right, but that would be the remedy from
Right.
the secretary anyway.
Okay.
That was the issue.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0. Oh. We had the discussion on, but we kind of just jumped into Board of Selectmen
Well, that was the town
update.
administrator jumping right over it.
Yes, he did.
Trying to make
Oh,
up
yeah.
time, that's what I
He was trying to
to
make up
do.
time, so, any input from the board? Let's start, on my right, Ms. Hewens.
Nothing. I hope people would come to the Carver Farmers Market. It's been really nice down there, and it is something I think we should support, supporting our agricultural community and crafts. And they always have great things for kids as well.
What happened to my sheet of paper?
I'm going to skip over, I'm going to go to the far, if you don't mind, Ms. Marone. Mr.
Not
Clark.
at all, because I'm looking for something.
Well, first, I just want to wish everyone a wonderful 4th of July holiday coming up.
Indeed.
Hopefully, a lot of people are going to be able to sneak the Monday in to go along with the Tuesday and make it a nice long weekend. The other issue I wanted to bring up was something that I read in the paper this week that a number of towns in the Commonwealth are considering, and that is considering renaming the Board of Selectmen. If you look at all the boards and committees in the town of Carver, and in most towns, it's only the Board of Selectmen that is gender-specific. Every other board is zoning board, planning board, Board of Health. And a number of communities have decided that since we have very distinguished women serving on the boards, that perhaps it might be time to move away from the tradition of calling everyone on the Board of Selectmen a selectman, since that was something that came really from the Pilgrim days, or certainly early on in the colonial times. And since then, women have even gotten the right to vote. Through that period of time. So I would like to propose that we put on the agenda for our next meeting just to have a discussion on this topic. Actually, if the board were to decide that they wanted to change the name, either to town council or select board, which is what I think a lot of other towns have done, it actually would have to go through the charter and be voted on at town meeting. So that, but I thought, I see both arguments. I see the tradition of being called the Board of Selectmen, and I don't think many women necessarily are offended at being referred to as a selectman. But at the same time, I see a lot of things now through my granddaughter's eyes, and the idea of eliminating gender-specific stuff sometimes. And believe me, one of the things I have not been accused of, as I've been accused of many things, but being politically correct is not something that I have been labeled with. And I know this may have a little bit of that scent, but I throw it out there for consideration for the board, and I'd ask that it be on the agenda for our next meeting.
I just wanted to point out an interesting little factoid that lately male and female actors are now called actors instead of actor and actress. So that's kind of a backwards thing, which, well, we can talk about it another time, but I just...
Just throwing it out there,
point
it's...
Are you alluding you guys are all actors?
No, I was just saying that, instead of making the distinction between actors and actresses and select men and select women, never mind.
I can tell you one thing. If this was known as the Board of Select Women, that wouldn't last long.
And select people is just, I can't.
Anyway, didn't mean to start the debate now. I thought I'd just throw it out there for the next
Mr.
meeting.
Clark, depending on how we're looking for how jam-packed our next Nielsen award-winning meeting is going to be, we might be able to fit it in. If not, it might have to be put up to 2 meetings from now.
I could live with that.
But we will consider adding that to the agenda.
I would appreciate that.
And I am not, I appreciate your thoughtfulness and kindness, but women already know that we rule, so we don't have to, acknowledge woman, men, we already know.
Well, man is in the
So,
name woman.
So I do appreciate it, and
Well, we're not deciding now. I threw it out there for
You
future
sure you don't want the
discussion.
chairmanship back, Mr. Clark?
I'm thanking you. I'm thanking you.
Whoa, man.
But
Moving on, please.
I lost a sheet of paper that was just here. Anyway,
So that means you don't want to,
no, I.
you don't remember what you said?
As a woman, I want to speak.
Let her roar.
With numbers too big to ignore.
All right, may I go ahead then?
Then you can continue your search.
Oh, good idea. Go ahead.
All right, first up, I want to go ahead and congratulate boys under 16 town soccer team. They were out in, I can't remember the exact location, but they had the state tournaments this last weekend, worked their way through the competition. Unfortunately, they fell just short in the championship game, but they're still the number 2 soccer team in the state, and I think a lot of congratulations needs to go to them and their parents and the coaches. Back in my younger days when my kids were younger, it's a big effort to go out there for these tournaments, and it's hard on the kids, so I just want to congratulate them on the job they've done. Also, a reminder, again, like Ms. Hewen said, the farmers market, but also what we have coming up, July 29th, is Carver Old Home Day. And I want to ask everybody to go out there. It's a good time. There's a lot of different things. There's the 5K road race. There's generally in our parking lot here, car show. There's horseshoes. There's lots of different booths, arts and crafts. And, of course, we have the clam bake itself. So it's a good time for everybody. It's a time to celebrate the formation of the town of Carver. So I want to remind everybody that July 29th is Carver Old Home Day. And I think that's all I have. Did you find your sheet of paper?
No, but I have it pretty much memorized.
Okay, then go ahead.
So I'm all right. And it was here 5 minutes ago. But a few months back, I am the representative for the Board of Selectmen on the Plymouth County Advisory Board, and I was tasked with going to the most recent meeting where they were going to approve the budget. And the budget was a little bit contentious this year because there was salary increases that were being discussed. So if you recall, the Plymouth County Commissioners came to the board to discuss this upcoming budget and to ask for our support. And you guys didn't decide to take a vote, and you left it to me to speak on our behalf.
Because we knew you would do an excellent job.
I think you'll be happy with what I did. So I just thought I would give a little bit of a history. What was happening is the commissioners wanted a $15,000 per person increase, which was going to amount to $39,000 in the budget. Okay? And I want to give a history of the Plymouth County Commissioner's salary, is that basically the past group of commissioners were doing a horrendous job. It ended up being, just as an example, I don't want to talk all night long about all the different things that they were doing, but what they weren't doing were yearly audits. So they were like 10 years behind on audits, estimated. So there was a decision that was going to be made to either have them fired or to cut their salaries. So back approximately 10 years ago, the Plymouth County Commissioners' salaries were cut until it was felt that they were performing. It was stated back then, 10 years ago, that this salary would be reinstated at some point. So with that being said, I just wanted to share with you a few of the highlights from the meeting before I go into what the result was. They were looking at a proposed budget, justifying obviously why there was going to be, why they wanted it accepted to have this increase in salary. And one of the budget versus actual numbers that they stated was that it's a projected $700,000 surplus for next year. I was a little concerned about that, and this is where I was, thinking of you guys and how you would vote, because $250,000 of that was coming from the Registry of Deeds, in the hopes of increased revenues, but Mr. Buckley convinced me that these revenues were going to come to fruition. And that the current revenues significantly had exceeded projections. The expenses were under budget. They had money to be able to fund the new stabilization fund, and there was an increase in OPEB funding. So everything was positive. So some of the priorities for the commissioners for the year was they wanted to add, which was approved, an entomologist to the services because of the needs that have surfaced throughout the county, especially with the rise in ticks and Lyme disease, and that it was becoming increasingly more difficult for residents to be able to find services to answer questions and things of that nature. They've continued courthouse improvements, and they did increase, like I was saying, the allocation to the stabilization fund. And they are continuing to implement that dredge program. They bought the machines a few years back, so that's still underway. So with that being said, I want to keep this as, keeping it brief. Again, they wanted $13,000 each. I spoke on behalf of the Board of Selectmen. And what my recommendation was, and I believe that you guys were leaning towards this, is that you wanted, if we were to go with the $13,000 each, was to do it in increments. The $13,000 failed. You have to remember that we are only approximately, I don't have the sheet in front of me, 1.6% of the vote, because the votes are by town based on population. So that vote failed, so the increment failed. But then the proposal came up to just give them, and this was after all the accolades and the list that went on about everything that this current Plymouth County Commissioner Board has accomplished, that they should get an increase of $5,000 each, which on behalf of the Board of Selectmen I did support. Because there wasn't the incremental, that's how it.
And that passed?
And that passed, yes. Even with the towns that had initially said no to the vote of the 13,000. Plymouth was a big one that was not in support of the 13,000. That was a biggie, But most of the other towns, and then Plymouth too, did support the $5,000 increase. So they've done a tremendous job, and it was a good night, and there was a lot of discussion. So I hope I did well.
Thank you for putting your time and effort into that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Very welcome.
And thank you for the concise update.
Thank you. And I just want to wish everybody a happy Independence Day on the 4th of July.
Anything else? All right, moving on. Thanks to the town administrator, we already did the Mass DOT. We've already discussed the 2017 annual reappointments. As far as the discussion, in possible vote on the Board of Selectmen and the town administrator goals and objectives, giving the time and the fact that I know I was neglect. We've seen the update, the recommendations from Sarah and Ron. I've not seen any from me yet, or Helen or David. I would be just as willing to put this up to August 1st.
And especially as Dave's not here, too.
Right, that would be, yeah, that's the main reason.
I'm willing to table that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, on the table, I think I hear a consensus on that. Do I need to take a vote on that?
I don't think so.
No, okay. Which brings us down to the Plymouth County Advisory Board rep for FY18 update on vote.
We just got that.
Then we just got that from Helen. So now we're 9:15. So hey, we're back to ahead of schedule. All right.
Making a motion to approve the minutes of May 16th.
Second.
I hear motion second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, by 4-0. We have a request for a bunch of one-day licenses for King Richard's Fair. You can see them all there, all the weekend days in September, including Labor Day, and most of October, including Columbus Day.
Make a motion to approve,
Second.
assuming that their taxes and so forth are all.
Have been paid.
And have they agreed not to let people stay in those buildings?
That's what they've told the building commissioner.
Okay, so they agree to the building commissioner's terms then?
And if the building commissioner catches them, then he will deal with that appropriately.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? Hearing none. Those in favor of approving signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0. Request for common and particular license for King Richard's Fair.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? 4-0 in favor. We've already taken care of Yummy Pagoda. I do love that name.
I know, isn't it fun?
Next meeting of the Board of Selectmen was actually a joint meeting this Thursday with the school committee. Then after that, our next meeting will be August 1st, so we'll be taking the month of July off. Echo everybody else's feelings that everybody has a wonderful 4th of July and a safe 4th of July, no matter what you are going to be doing. I will take a motion to go into executive session, which we do need to go into.
So moved.
You want to read it, please?
Move to go into executive session to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel. Public Employee Committee that may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the town if held in open session, and to reconvene in open session for the purpose of adjournment.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, that public employee, that's again the health insurance that we've been discussing. We're going to be talking about that. The state requires a roll call vote.
Just a minute, I need to ask, Michael, does this involve anything that,
Health insurance.
with health insurance
For retirees?
for retarees?
Active and retirees.
Okay,
then
so
you're
I'm going to
gonna-
recuse myself,
Yep.
Maureen? Thank you.
Ron Clark votes aye.
Ellen Maroney votes aye.
Alan Dunham votes aye.
And
We are
Sarah's
adjourn-
recused.
And Sarah, you want to recused.